Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program with myself, Martin Blackham, and with my wife, Nathalie Blackham, from our studios in Jerusalem. Great to have you with us across the world. I appreciate you joining us today with some very important news for you about what's really happening on the scene, on the ground here in Israel, which is why we are here in the land, is so that you can hear what's really going on. Well, one of the dramatic news stories, Nathalie, which has been in the some of the Israeli media, most of the Israeli media hasn't covered this, but it was in Israel National News, is the dramatic news that a Pfizer executive has admitted that the company didn't know if the jab would stop transmission, in other words, the spread, before rollout, before the jab was made compulsory, really, in a lot of places. People lost their jobs. Pfizer Pharmaceuticals executive Janine Small stated that the company did not test its COVID jab for the crucial factor of stopping transmission of COVID between people before releasing the injectable in Israel. Pfizer exec Small made the stunning admission during testimony before the European Union Parliament just last week, as we've come into the studio. Dutch MEP Rob Roos asked her, was the Pfizer COVID jab tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? She responded, regarding the question around we did not know about stopping the immunisation before it entered the market, no. MEP Roos shared a clip of Small's response, her testimony on Twitter, calling it scandalous and stating that millions of people worldwide, in fact, across the land of Israel, many people were affected by this, lost their jobs, or couldn't go into work, felt forced to get vaccinated because of the myth you do it for others. This has now been proven to be a big lie, a massive news story. That is how MEP Rob Roos described the stunning confession of a Pfizer executive on video that the company had no evidence that its jab was able to stop COVID transmission. Janine Small said, no, of course, we heard at the testimony. Also, by the way, Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer, recently pulled out of a scheduled hearing before the same committee that revealed this recent bombshell. The sudden withdrawal follows an audit report of the European Union's experimental gene therapy procurement strategy. In other words, the facts behind the purchase of the injectable. Dutch MEP Roos appeared on Tucker Carlson tonight and elaborated further and said it's one of the biggest scandals of our time. This has massive implications, he said. Governments pushed millions of people worldwide to get vaccinated by telling them you do it for your grandmother. Perfectly healthy young people were forced into taking this jab using false arguments. Our government loves to talk about institutional discrimination, but this was real institution discrimination. In many countries like the US and Italy, vaccine mandates were introduced for certain professions. Many people lost their job, their livelihood, their business because they stood by their principles. Austria even had a lockdown for the unvaccinated because of this reason. The government literally imprisoned people within their own homes. All of this was based on the idea that the jab helped prevent the spread of the virus. Otherwise, why should people take it in society? Why should it have been used? This has now been proven to be a big lie. He said even the president for International Development Market of Pfizer admits there was no scientific basis to say the jab would stop the transmission of the virus. I find that this is one of the biggest scandals of our time. But interestingly enough, nobody seems to have picked it up in the media in Israel. The politicians responsible for this will be angry that people are looking back at this time, but I won't forget what they did to millions of people. And if we're a democracy, we should have accountability. In other words, people who made the decisions should be responsible. Republican senators in the United States are now publicly agreeing with a call to hold Big Pharma to account for misleading the American people at tremendous cost to their lives and livelihoods. Outrageous. Senator Ted Cruz responded to the report. These CEOs need to testify under oath before Congress. Next year they will, and everyone who lied to the American people should be held accountable. President Biden, Dr. Anthony Fauci, Director Rochelle Walensky, and Bill Gates are among the prominent voices that misled the American people. Senator Cruz's demand for big pharma CEOs to testify under oath before Congress follows upon Kentucky Senator Rand Paul's promise to hold Dr. Anthony Fauci accountable for similarly deceiving the American people. Lastly, I've called for an end to the PrEP Act, the medical malpractice martial law that prevents people from holding panelists from pharmaceutical companies and medical establishments responsible for the pain and suffering that they have caused. So this is a massive story, Nathalie, in Israel that Pfizer have misled the public. And why is it such a big story in Israel? It's because Israel was the first country to do the mass inoculation of its population, the first country to introduce many of the mandates, and we were under the Green Pass regulations, which made it compulsory to have had the injectable and a record of it when you attend a restaurant or a concert.
I know, but the trouble now, the media are not a tool to help the people. The media is hiding things. So the truth, you have to search so hard for the truth to be able to know what's happening. When you say that, I just discovered this morning, I received something on Telegram, and they were speaking about a party in Israel, because in 2 weeks is going to be the election again here. And there is a new party which is called Ometz, and nobody heard about it. I sent it to many of my friends who don't want, who are really wants the truth. And they say, I didn't know about it. And so anyway, this is a party who really want to speak about the truth, about what was happening, about the vaccination and all these kind of things. And again, is not put in the new media. So I don't know at all how much they will do. But again, it's very important that people are standing for the truth. And our mouth is very important. What's coming out, what we are saying is very important. And we are spreading what...
the truth to the people. The interesting thing is that...
Illusion, is for me, all these weeks and months is what they are saying is illusion, is not true, and the world is upside down, and God is going to put it the right way around. But it's very much the story of Ruth. Well, not at all at the time of Purim, but for me, it reminds me that. And funny enough, the redemption and the story of, Esther with Purim. And they are speaking very often that the story of Esther will be known all around the world, because again, it was the world was upside down and it would be put the right way around. And the evil, like Haman and all these hordes, were hanged. And in the end, there was this amazing plots that we're seeing was exactly the same type during Esther.
And this is going to be, of course, for the final redemption.
Yes.
That the accountability for what people have done on the earth, misleading people and making people do things which weren't right, they will be held accountable on the day of judgment, which is coming with the redemption. Now, one of the arguments was made about the prevention of COVID and having to have this jab, which doesn't, as has been clearly said by the actual makers of it, Pfizer, that it doesn't spread transmission. One of the problems with it...
it doesn't stop
transmission. Yeah. One of the problems with it was that it was an experimental jab. In other words, it was new, hadn't been tested or anything, and they said it contained the mRNA. Now, one of the big concerns of many people about mRNA injectables was the changing of genes. Now, I've read this before, but just as a quick reminder for the folks, maybe the first time you've heard this, but mRNA, which stands for messenger ribonucleic acid, or mRNA, plays a vital role specifically in the process known as protein synthesis. Okay, mRNA, this is by the way off the website of Moderna. mRNA is a single-stranded molecule that carries, listen to this, genetic code. So this is going to be affecting, you know, the genetic code in the body from the DNA. Here we go with the genes in a cell's nucleus to ribosomes, the cell's protein-making machinery. Not a lot of this was known when people were being rushed to have the injectable and the force.
It wasn't explained to them.
And I don't think that the people who were administrating it in the clinics, in the emergency centres, were explaining all of this information. Now we are living with the consequences of that. Well, that's one of the big breaking news stories in Israel, Nathalie, about the Pfizer's admission that it doesn't stop transmission, which, by the way, you know, we're not really seeing, as Nathalie was saying, the big media is not really producing this. But this is also another issue, that a lot of the things that are coming out now are not getting publicity in the mainstream media. The mainstream media now has gone and is only producing one side of the story, and that's it.
And you know, when I look for stories in the media, it's like blah 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 blah. It's not the reality. I mean, it's like it's not important media, and you have to dig. And usually, it's on our Telegram now channel that you will find things of people who really want to say the truth. And it's just unbelievable compared to a few years ago, if you think.
And really, there is an agenda involved.
Yes.
That's you know, we've talked about the Great Reset on the program before, and there is an agenda in this. It isn't just coincidence.
And they are playing, like you are saying, and we were watching a program was speaking about, you know, we have so many cameras everywhere, but now they are playing even with the camera. When the camera will say what they want, if it's not the right thing, they will correct what is on the camera, and the recording is not the truth. So again, it's like illusion.
Yeah.
And they are playing with the politician.
Right.
We knew that. We could feel that sometimes the politician is like, how can you be here and there and not be wiped out? It's impossible.
But this is all part of the road to redemption, and I may speak, if I get time in the program, about digital currency. This is where we're going, and this is coming to Israel. But I know Nathalie has some things to share. So
again, already? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, we jump out of all this story and we go and we dig in the Torah. You know how the Torah is just amazing. Somebody was saying that it's outfitted. It's like it's not. It's been written many years ago, like 4,000 years, and it's like so pinpointing exactly the truth, and the truth which is coming and which is going to shine on the earth. Now, something that we have always to remember, because I think it's a very deep concept and is not said very often, is in front of our eyes, but we don't speak about it, is that God is holy. He lives in Shamayim, in the heavens, and his desire, his deepest desire, is to live with us on earth, which is not the most holy place, as we can see, but his desire is to be with us, okay? And so when you hear about the prayer of Yeshua, when he said to his Talmidim, his disciple, okay, now tell us how to pray. And he said that the kingdom of God will come on earth as it is in heaven. So he wants his holiness coming onto us. When we say holiness, it doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't ask us to be perfect. We can't be perfect, okay? Because of all the things around us. But we can be holy. Holy means to be set apart. It's like we want to be with him. And just the desire to be with him put us aside to be with us, to be with him. Okay, and it's not perfection. But it's like this desire to be with him bring holiness on it. On us, and is what he's saying. He said, be holy as I am holy. If he said that, it means that it's possible. You see, this is so amazing. Now, one other thing, you know, I love to speak about the alphabet, the letters of the Hebrew language. I've done a book again, also I'm saying all the time, because, you know, people are more and more hungry for the Hebrew language. And I tell you, more I studied, I started like one step at a time, but now when I study, I can't not study with the Hebrew language, because it's not saying the same thing. It's like, it's so direct. It's saying something in our heart in a much deeper way than all the translation. And I'm going to show you something about it today. Now, when we read, and I might read it with you, in Zechariah, because again in Hebrew, we are going to do a little lesson, because, and I need to put my glasses. I want to tell you what is written there. Oh, I'll read it first in English so you will know. And Adonai shall be king over all the earth. So this is at the end of Zechariah when he speaks about the last days, okay? And Adonai will be king over all the earth. In that day, that will be that his name will be one, okay? So in Hebrew it is Va Haya Adonai, is like the letters Yud He Vav He, Le Melech, he will be king, Al Kol Haaretz, on all the earth, by Yom Ahu, on this day, Yehiyeh Adonai, again, so he will be that Adonai Echad ou Shmo Echad. Donc, God, Adonai, will be one and his name will be one. Very important. This is, and we will be one with him. This is again the connection that God is doing. Now, there is a beautiful, I'm trying to make it very, very short. There is a beautiful, beautiful teaching that is again all about being one with God, and this is what is that is going to happen. So they will have no more Jews, no more Christians, no more Buddhists, no more, which is what is written in the Brit Hadasha, in the New Testament, that one day we will be one. Okay, no more Jews, no more men, no more female. We will be, don't ask me how it works, but it will be how it is. We will be one. And so when you look in Genesis, God started to bring a time, okay? Yom Echad, the first day. Now, it's very interesting because it's not written Yom Rishon, which is like how we say it every day in Hebrew, like for the school or for the week, is like the first day. But there is written Yom Echad, because when God created the heaven and the earth, it was Echad, it was one. So he prepared time. Then he prepared a place, Makom Echad. And this is all when you read it in Hebrew in Genesis, okay? Makom Echad means the place. So he prepares time, then he prepare a place, Makom Echad. Very interesting also, the name of God is also Makom. He's the place again. So it's just amazing. He called also the place of the temple Makom. So this is time and place. Then, amazingly, he make us, and we are basar echad. We are one flesh, and it's not nefesh. It's not a soul. See what I was saying before. God wants to bring His presence in us as the lower place, and our lower place is our flesh. Then we have a soul, okay, but He wants to bring His unity in the lower place, which is our flesh. Echad, basar echad. Like when a man and a woman are together, is like one flesh, and is the closest for the children to see God. Okay, it's like the image of God. Is because of that God hates divorce, because it's like is breaking between the man and the woman, and when the man and the woman are together, this is the closest image for the children who comes after to see who is God. Okay, and then you have another passage which is, again, I speak about it in the book because it's all about the Hebrew language will be given again to us to serve him, and serving him is also to adore him, to worship him. Okay, and so at the end of this passage is written that you will be shoulder to shoulder, but the real translation is Shrem Echad, one shoulder. We will be one shoulder. Okay, how can we be one shoulder? Don't ask me. It's how it will be, and we will be one with God. And again, you can see the numbers. This is like the very short version of God saying, I will be one, my name will be one, and we will be one with him. It's just amazing. So when you see, when I say, why am I saying that? Is like we need to see further than what's happening right now. We need to see that God wants to bring the unity of humanity, that he will be worship in his place, Makom, okay? At the time, he put us in the time, and it is coming. Like, again, something very important that we are not taught is that when Yeshua came, he said himself, again in the gospel, in the Brit Hadashah, he said, we are in the Acharit Hayamim, in the last days, because he was at the beginning of the last days. And now we are at the end of the last days, when he's going to come. Funny enough, this reminds me, I'm going to very fast because I can see time is flying, but I think it's very important. I had a dream not a long time ago, which doesn't happen so often. And it was like I was going to a conference and Yeshua was speaking over there. And because a lot of people were saying, yeah, we say that Yeshua is going to come back, but we've been waiting for so long. You know, when will it be? And in this conference, Yeshua was saying, I'm coming. I haven't changed my way of thinking. You have to understand the Acharit Hayamim, the last days. I started when I was born, Yeshua was saying, but now it's like there was an all time for the humanity to understand that he is the Mashiach, he is the Messiah, and he's coming back soon. And I was with a friend and we're like, Tavo Yeshua Bo, which means, okay, please, you are coming. Yes, Yeshua, you are coming. And this was really, I was like, wow, this is a big dream. And sometimes you forget about it. And I shared with a friend and she was telling me again a few days after, like, you know, this really impacted me. And I'm like, oh, maybe I have to share that because it's so important. He is coming. Mashiach is coming. Let us be ready.
Yeah, and you know that Israel is the place, and you know they call Israel the Holy Land, and then we've got the Holy City, Jerusalem, and then we've got the Holy Temple, the Temple Mount, and the Holy Temple, and then we've got the Holy of Holies. So you know it gets more and more defined, and the stairway into heaven, and this is the place for the return of the Lord, and we're all getting ready for that, and the day of judgment is coming. Multitudes, it says in the Bible, are in the valley of decision. In other words, with everything that's happening in the world, people have to make decisions. That's the funny thing, you know, it's like there's no option. You need to make a decision. Are you going to follow the truth? Are you going to follow the main media and just follow what's being fed to the masses, whether it's true or not? Or are you going to do your own due diligence, as they call it, and look into the truth, look for what really is the story, what's really happening? And this is all part of the redemption, that we are truth seekers. Now, as I said, things are not happening just by coincidence. There is an agenda at work. Whether we like that or not, we're in the middle of this agenda, and that's how it is. Now, one of the things on the agenda, Nathalie, and one of the things that's affecting us here in Israel is the digital currency. Now, many of you may not have even heard of this, but the digital currency is coming to Israel. The Bank of Israel is working, was in the news recently, the Bank of Israel is working with Sweden and Norway on a trial which will test a new digital currency. Israel's globalist government is closely aligned, sadly, with the World Economic Forum, whose Agenda 2030, remember I was talking about an agenda, it's even written, it's called the Agenda 2030, hinges on a combination of digital ID, digital payments and data governance. I'll say that again. Digital ID, digital payments and data governance. Bank of Israel set to begin testing features of its central bank digital currency. So the digital currency also has another name, so we don't get confused when we hear it. It's called the CBDC, which is the Central Bank Digital Currency, in a joint effort with the Central Bank of Norway and with Sweden's Central Bank, as part of the new initiative in Israel called Project Icebreaker, which is an interesting name in itself. The banks are creating digital currencies. A central bank digital currency, the CBDC, is issued and governed by a central bank. In the case of Israel, a CBDC would be a digital new Israeli shekel. So, if you can imagine the physical shekel in your hand, this is a digital one on a computer. But listen to this. It's not just free once you get it in your digital hand, in other words, on your computer or on your smartphone or any other digital means of getting your currency. But listen to this, it's controlled directly by the Bank of Israel. So you don't really have it in your hand, Nathalie. It has the potential to disappear even after it's been transferred to a private citizen. So this is not as straightforward as people think. Furthermore, whereas cash transactions are anonymous, in other words, you can buy and sell with cash and you don't have to give information if you don't want to, normally, CBDC transactions, digital transactions, will not be, as stated by Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. Project Sailor, a similar project launched between the Bank of Israel and the Bank of Hong Kong or China Monetary Authority earlier this year, is exploring a two-tier exposure-less CBDC. Again, that should have alarm bells ringing for us here in Israel to be working with the draconian state of China, who are doing, it seems every day there are reports of the terrible acts of China. Now, adopting the digital shekel involves several risks that go beyond digital payment solutions. The main risk is to harm financial mediation. If the Bank of Israel does the job too well and the public flocks to it and empties out the commercial banks, for example, or risks the monetary system, then we could be in a big shtuk here in Israel if there's a run on the banks or people start to withdraw their money. So the digital currency, there are many, many bad things about it. It seems that's the way it's going here in Israel, and we will keep you updated. Well, it's been great to be with our friends across the world, Nathalie. And, we have a lot of information on our website. So if you'd like to know, see what's happening on a daily basis and on a weekly basis, then please go to the website, to our media page, and there's a Israel news story. You can also support us at the website on our donate page. You can contact us at info@israelfirst.org. And remember, we're the program that looks at the land, the people, and the language.